A very warm welcome in the class of Mathematics 3. Today, in the segment of number theory, our topic is Euclidean algorithm for finding GCD. Myself, Rupak Bhattacharya, Assistant Professor, Department of Mathematics, JIS College of Engineering. In this topic, the prerequisites are not very much variational in comparison with the last topic's prerequisites, because these are completely on idea based discussion. So the basic prerequisites are always the same. It is basic number system what we require to revisit, and we know that it is the same prerequisites of other classes taken before this particular class. Similarly, the concept of prime numbers and composite numbers, because in the context of GCD we need some idea and the relation between primes as well as the composites. And similarly, we have some prerequisites on well ordering principle. It is already discussed in your class. So finally, we need the concept of divisibility and division algorithm, which will be required for some problems as well as some understanding of the lemmas and propositions. So we are proceeding in the main topic. This is a very famous book. This book is written by Euclid, and the name of the book is The Elements. This book is sometimes considered as the Bible of mathematics, because though mathematics is not a very little subject, still one single book can't cover up the basic ideas of all regarding to mathematics. But this is nothing but a purely motivational thing what any student of mathematics can think on. Now, why I am introducing this textbook over here? Because here we get the Euclid, and we have the definition related to today's topic is when our topic is on GCD, so this D and CD, and then we have to go for GCD. So we are having two integers A and B. We are talking about, obviously we know what is the divisor of A and divisor of B. We are talking about common divisor of the pair A and B is any integer D such that D divides A and D divides B. So what we have to remind, that to divide A means there exists one point C in Z, means set of integers, such that A is equal to D into C, means A can be represented in terms of D with an integral multiple of C. Similarly, we can state the same thing for D divides B. Now proceeding further, what we get, the example. Initially you will feel, oh, these are very basic and trivial examples, and it is true, but this is actually the basic building blocks of the next ideas on Euclidean technique. So look at this, the common divisors of the pair 12 and 150 includes -1, minus plus minus 1, plus minus 2, plus minus 3, plus minus 6, and these are all common divisors of this pair of integers. Now the question is, how can we be sure there are not any others except this? Now divisors of 12 are plus minus 1, plus minus 2 up to plus minus 12, and there are no other divisors. Similarly, divisors of 150 are starting from plus minus 1, plus minus 2, and we can go plus minus 150 and no others. So if we want to think for common divisors, then we have to take the intersection of these two sets and we will get common divisors. So obviously plus minus 1 will be there, plus minus 2 will be there, plus minus 3 will be there, plus minus 4 will not be there, plus minus 5 will not be there, and so on. Clear? Now if we proceed further, what we get that our requirement is greatest common divisor, so we are writing it as GCD. It is nothing but the biggest common divisors. So if we take the set of common divisors, in that set we have to find out the biggest one, or in other words, this is the thing we can say. Now we are getting the example in the previous case that 12 and 150 is the set of plus minus 1, plus minus 2, plus minus 3, plus minus 6, and so on. So what we see that plus 6 is the maximum element of the set. So the GCD of AB always exists, except in one case. This is very interesting. What is the case? That is GCD of 0 0 does not exist. But why? It is termed as undefined. Because if you take any positive integer, it is a common divisor of the pair 0 0. So the set of positive integers, if you want to take the maximum element or the greatest element, can you find it out? It is obviously not, because 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and so on, it will go on and on. So in this context you will not get any common divisor which is greatest in the set. That is why GCD of 0 0 is undefined. Now why is the GCD defined for every other pair of integers? If you take GCD of others, suppose A and B, where A and B both are not 0, then why? Yes, you can calculate and you will get the result, but you have to think for some justified logic so that it can be establishing this particular claim. Now proceeding further, we can say that the existence of the said maximum is related to well ordering principle, which is already discussed. Now how we can claim that, or how we can establish this one, it is also a job for the in-depth thinking people. Finally, we have one information that if you have integers a and b, we have GCD of AB, which will be same as GCD of modulus of A and modulus of B. You can test it by taking arbitrarily any two numbers. Now, as our target is to find out GCD, our method 1, which is we have termed as easy method, it is as inspection. So you are taking 12 and 18. Please observe that we have taken two very small numbers, and among this, between these two, we are taking the smaller one, and we are checking that this divides into both numbers. Since 12 did not work, because 12 does not divide 18, we are trying to find out the next largest integer that evenly divides 12. So by inspection we get the number is 6. Now 6 divides 18, it is our question, and our answer is yes. So as we get the biggest divisor of 12 is 12, but which does not divide 18, we are going for the next biggest or next largest integer which divides 12, that is 6, and 6 divides 18. So we get the GCD of 12 and 18 equal to 6. Now if suppose instead of 18 we are taking some other number, suppose 15, then 12 does not divide 15, then 6 does not divide 15, then 4 does not divide 15, but 3 divides 15, and we will get the GCD of 15 and 12 is 3. Clear? So what is waiting under this blue box for us is that to try for yours, that in this context, in this method, I know that you can find out GCD of 24 and 54, but in this method please think about that what will be the case. Now proceeding further, again we are going for method 2, which is very interesting one, and you have got the idea that every number can be uniquely represented in the prime factorization method. So our first step is to break each number into its prime factorization. So we are taking 168. 168 can be written as 2 cube into 3 into 7. Look at this, 2, 3 and 7 all are primes. And 180 has also can be written as 2 square, 3 square into 5. This process tells us that how many 2's are common in both the cases. Here we get 2 2's and here we get 3 2's. So obviously we have to take 2 number of 2's. So 2 cube then 3 and then 7, what we are getting, and here it is 2 square, 3 and 3 and 5. So common, maximum but common is 2 number of 2's, 1 number of 3, and there is 7 but no 7 is here. There is 5 but no 5 is here. So common factors in the context of prime is 2, 2 and 3. So the GCD will be 12. Now if we think about the example of 220 and 1323, what we see, it is 2 square 5 11 and it is 3 cube 7. Is there anything common? 2 is not present, 3 is not present, 5 is not present, 7 is not present, 11 is not present over here. So what is the common prime factor? No one. Then there is no question of that what will be the power of the common prime factor? Obviously no one. Then what will be the GCD of these two? Now the GCD of these two will be 1. So what will be the GCD of 220 and 1323? You have to think for the prime factorization and you have to do that. Now if among these two you will get one of them is itself prime, then obviously there will be no prime factorization of that prime. So if that prime is not dividing the rest number, then the GCD will be 1, and if the prime is dividing that rest number, then the GCD will be that prime itself. Now going forward, what we get, our job is to try for this one. Clear? Now the question is, now this is a little bit very much interesting for you to understand. The question is how much efficient these two methods are. Because if we have to take a big number means the number of digits in that number is high, like this, or maybe more than this, then what will be the process? So look at this, what we are getting here. For large number A, we would essentially be forced to try dividing by each number up to the square root of A. This is a standard formula. Okay. So if we have, and it will be the latter case for the prime. Now if we have, very interestingly, a number which is having 200 digits. Okay. So what we are saying, 10 to the power 199 is less than A is less than 10 to the power 200. Now how it works? It works in the form that as we are taking A which is having 200 decimal digits, so it will be, must be within this range. You can take first a smaller A and then you can check it also. If you take suppose a smaller value of A, then also you can check. Now 3 into 10 to the power 19. From where we are getting it? We are taking the square root of a. So parallelly we have to take the square root of 10 to the power 199. Now 10 to the power 199, if you want to take the square root of this one, 10 to the power 199, that means it is 10 into 10 to the power 198. So if you make the square root of this one, it will be 10 to the power 99, and 10 you can write it after taking the square root, it will be 3 point something. So we are taking the lesser part because it is in the less number, and it is root a, and obviously it will be 10 to the power 100. Please concentrate. Now dividing by every number up to square root would involve doing at least 3 into 10 to the power 19 divisions, because we have to check at least 3 into 10 to the power 19 divisions, because we have to go for root a, and root a is greater than 3 into 10 to the power 99. Now looking at this number, it may seem what a big number it is. It is not so easy to realize, but look at this. So suppose we have a supercomputer that can do a billion divisions per second, means 1 second 10 to the power 9 divisions. That means it is too fast. But we need 3 into 10 to the power 19 divisions. That means we need this much of seconds, 3 into 10 to the power 90 seconds. Now how many seconds is that? 3 into 10 to the power 90 seconds is that. So in a day we are having 60 into 60 into 24 seconds, and in a year we are having 3153600 seconds. That is roughly 3 into 2 into 10 to the power 8 seconds per year, and we need 3 into 10 to the power 90 seconds. So if I divide 3 into 10 to the power 90 by 3 into 2 into 10 to the power 8, then we will see that we need 9.375 into 10 to the power 18 years. This is rather alarming because the age of the universe is 10 to the power 14.6 billion years. 14.6 means 14.6 into 10 to the power 9 years. 14.6 into 10 to the power 9 is much less than 9.375 into 10 to the power 81 years. Can you imagine what we are actually talking about? If we follow this process, we can't complete the total number of division, because the age of the universe is also less than that. So it gives us the conclusion that these two processes are not sufficient for our work. So what will be the case? Check it. Here lies the importance of the Euclidean algorithm. This method asks us to perform successive division, and then we have to take the remainder. Again the remainder will be divided, and in this way the process will go on. When the remainder will be equal to 0, we have to stop, and the previous step remainder will be the GCD. This is Euclidean algorithm, and we have to test it. So how to test it? So check up. We can find out the GCD of 1424 and 3084. We can find it out by the previous two methods, but now our target is to use Euclidean algorithm. So let us proceed. What we are doing, we are taking this one, and according to the logic of Euclidean algorithm, we are dividing the bigger one by the smaller one, and we get the remainder is 236. Now our job is to make the process continuing, that we have to divide 236, we have to divide 1424 by 236, and when we are dividing 1424 by 236, what we are getting, that remainder is coming as 8. Okay, now we have to divide 236 by 8, and after dividing it we are getting the remainder as 4. Now what we have to do, according to the same process, we have to divide 8 by 4, and we see that here the remainder is coming as 0. In the step where the remainder is coming as 0, the previous step remainder is the GCD. The previous step remainder is 4, so the GCD of 1424 and 3084 is 4. So in a nutshell, the presentation is this. 3084 can be written as this one, then 1424 can be written by 236 by this one, means second line, and then 236 can be written by 8 by the third line, and 8 can be written by 4 in the fourth line, where the fourth line is having remainder 0. So the GCD will be the previous line remainder, that is 4. So in the same process you have to try for these 3 GCD calculations. Clear? Okay. So now if we proceed further, what we get, the formal presentation of the Euclidean algorithm, the theorem. This tells us, given positive integers a and b, because these two will be given, and obviously we have to take one is greater than another, because if they are same, the GCD will be the same number. We are going to put R0 in A and R1 in B, because this 0 1 will help us to make it iterative. And for each j greater than 0, we will apply division algorithm, which is already discussed in your class, to divide Rj by Rj plus 1, means sequential division, and to obtain the integer quotient as Qj plus 1. And the remainder is obviously will be Rj plus 2, and so that what we see, Rj is equal to Rj plus 1 into Qj plus 1, because the product of these two, plus Rj plus 2, that is the remainder. Now obviously the remainder will be greater than 0 according to the process, and less than will be Rj plus 1, because we are dividing it by this. This process will terminate when a remainder of 0 is reached, what is already discussed in the last example, and the last non-zero remainder. So if it is coming in this position, so the last non-zero remainder will be the GCD of a comma b. It is actually supported by a lemma. This lemma tells us that given integer de such that e is equal to dq plus r, where q and r are integers, we have that GCD of e and d is equal to GCD of d and r. It is very much interesting. Look at this. I am not going to prove this, I am just going to give you some idea on that. So if you claim that, suppose C is the common divisor, then if C is the common divisor of E and D, then E minus dq, this will be divided by C, but E minus dq is R, so R will also be divided by C, so dq plus R will also be divided by C. And in the reverse manner, what we get, if C divides dq plus R, means as C divides d and r, C will divide dq plus r, but dq plus r is your E, so C will divide E. So what we see, that the common divisors of E and D and the common divisors of D and R are same, common divisors. So if you have two sets where all the elements are same, that means both the sets are same, and if both the sets are same, their maximum entry will also be same, and this maximum entry is nothing but that GCD. So GCD of ED and GCD of DR will be same. So now it is a time for practice some problems. First of all, we are taking the problem of 72 and 120. Clear? The benefit of having Euclidean algorithm is that GCD of AB, it can be written as MA plus NB for some integers M and N. So here our AB is 72 and 120. So this 72 and 120, if we want to find out the GCD in this manner, we can write it as 120 is equal to 72 plus 48. 1 into 72, one can say. After that, we are taking 72 and we are trying to write 72 by 48. So it is 1 into 48 plus 24. Then we are trying to write 48 is equal to 2 into 24 plus 0. So what is getting remainder as 0? So the GCD will be 24. So we can claim that GCD of 72 and 120 is equal to 24. Now the question is, then 24 can be written as m into 72 plus n into 120. What will be the value of m and n? This is now the question. So look at this. I can write from the backward direction of this calculation that 24 can be written as 72 minus 48. We need 72 and 120 in my equation. So this 48 will be replaced. So this will be 72 as it was. This 48 can be written as 120 minus 72. From this we can write it that 48 can be written as 120 minus 72. Okay. So in the next line we can write 72 minus 120 plus 72, which is nothing but 2 into 72 plus minus 1 into 120. So look at this, our target is to write it in this manner where we are able to do this by getting m is equal to 2 and n is equal to minus 1. Clear? Now I want to draw your attention in this particular segment. That is, you can write the GCD of 1120 and 128 as, by your calculation you can find it out and it will be 32. My question is, 32 can be represented as, you please do this calculation, 9 into 128 minus 1 into 1120. Similarly, 32 can be written as 1129 into 128 minus 129 into 11 minus 129 into 1120. My intention is to say that as 32 can be represented in two forms by using 128 and 1120, the uniqueness is under question. How to find out more than one available cases for the GCD of two specific numbers? It is your task. Next, moving further, what we see, sometimes we have to face the questions like that 567 and 315. Suppose we are taking these two numbers. So what we can write, 567 is equal to 1 into 315 plus 252. Then 315 can be written as 1 into 252 plus 63. Then 252 can be written as 63 into 4 plus 0. So what will be our GCD? 63. You can write it as m into 567 plus n into 315 just by our learned previous slides learning, that is back propagation. So this 63 can be written as with the help of 252. So this 252 will be replaced. Then this 252 can be replaced by 315, and this whole thing can be written as m into, means this 63 can be written as m into 567 plus n into 315, or vice versa. So our fundamental question is now, most probably it is now coming in your mind also, that is it true that we can write all equations of the form ax plus by is equal to c has integral solutions? It is a question, means we know that ax plus by is nothing but a straight line. It may be the case that it is your 5, it is your 6. So at this point it is not cutting to any of the integral solutions. Similarly, suppose it is also two integers, suppose m and m plus 1. So here also there is no integral cutting. But what is the guarantee that there will be no one? Or what is the guarantee that there will be at least one? This question, please make it clear, because this question give you the food for the next class. So before going for the next class, you are having some assignments. Please complete this as per our discussed methods. Obviously we have to emphasize on Euclidean algorithm. And one very important line I am going to now show you, please try to find out the proper examples, first verification, then examples, and then the proof, because then only you will be convinced. Gabriel Lamé found that the number of steps, this is very important, the number of steps, okay, required in the Euclidean algorithm is at most 5 times the number of digits in the smaller number. So if there is a number whose representation is xyz and another number is abc, so the number of digits in the smaller number, if it is less than this, the number of digits in the smaller number, then it is 5 times calculated, and that is the upper bound of the requirement of the steps of Euclidean algorithm. Please test it first, then you will get some confidence or boost up, then you have to think for the proofs. Clear? So these are the references I have used for preparing this lecture, and finally I want to thank you all for your kind patience. Happy listening, happy learning.